we've thrown around the term RAG a little bit, but I keep learning. I work in a tech company, so it's all I take it for granted to some degree. But then when I'm talking to someone out in the wild, they'll say, oh well, I've got security concerns, or there's so many hallucinations with ChatGPT because I ask it about data and it pulls from all these random sources and you don't know what it's going to get. Yeah, why don't we explain briefly what RAG is and how it kind of narrows the scope for a specific business use case, and makes it a little bit more valuable than just uh, off the shelf, OpenAI, ChatGPT, chatbot style. Durga, can you explain kind of what RAG is for me?
Sure. RAG is something like retrieval augmentation, where see, any model, LLM model have pre-trained with a set of data, right? Any question you have provided, any prompt you have provided out of that context, it will go ahead and hallucinate itself. So we need to ensure that you are not going into deep thinking, to the giving a prompt which is going into the research mode or deep thinking to that model. And if you take an example, let's say you are into a manufacturing company, right? Let's take an example. You are a shoe manufacturing company, right? And you have a variety of shoes. Now, if you ask a random question, what size of shoe may fit my size, right? And I am not setting any context to the model, then it will go ahead and, as Jerry said, it will go ahead to the web and it start deep researching on its own, going to the web, and then it try to hallucinate and provide out of the box content data. Whereas with the retrieval augmentation RAG models, you provide the preset of data with it in the form of embedding. Okay. And you are restricting the context of the model, right? So the boundary parameters are very crucial so that it won't go outside the data what we have provided to the model, right? So that's where the RAGs comes into the picture. So we have the predefined data which was used for this context. Whereas if someone asks it, right, is there any leather shoes that matches my needs, right? If you are not if you are as a manufacturer, you are not into manufacturing leather shoes, right? You need to explicitly state in the RAG model, in the prompt or while creating the model, don't go, if it's something on the leather shoes, say I don't have any information on it, right? So that means you are restricting the context of the model. You are predefining the steps on the or setting up the boundaries of the model on what amount of thinking it can do, right, outside of the context. And since the data is provided by us and we are ensuring that the boundary was set against the data, any questions you have provided will be based on the data what you have provided as part of the RAG.
Yeah, let me kind of drill down on your shoe analogy a little bit here, because I like that. So, what I'm hearing is if you've trained a chatbot, let's say you're Joe's shoe company, right? And you don't have leather shoes. You, if you don't properly box in and set parameters for your chatbot, you don't want a situation where someone says, "Hey, I'm a size 8. I want leather shoes." If Joe's shoe company doesn't make leather shoes, you don't want the chatbot to say, "Oh, well, sure, go to Amazon. It's right over here. Here's this alternate, shoe." Or, "Oh, we can make you a shoe," and then it goes to manufacturing, and then we've promised a shoe that we can't make. Versus a more sophisticated version of that response, if properly engineered, or if you set up the chatbot to be more effective, might say, "Oh, well, we don't have leather shoes, but we do have this similar material that is also,
Leather-like in
it's
nature.
also
Yeah.
resilient to the elements, and it also has like a sheen to it, or whatever it might be. Here's our next best option. Are you interested in this?" That sounds like, hey, use what I understand is, the average user is that a RAG model is just narrowing the scope of a chatbot to the data and the answers and the logic that is relevant to the company at hand,
I mean,
specifically.
to a certain extent, that's correct. So RAG itself means retrieval augmentation. So what you're doing is you're augmenting its default retrieval mechanism by adding a specific data that it knows nothing about. So Joe's shoe company has a certain set of data. There is a certain set of shoes or content that it can generate, the process, internal processes, the hierarchy. All of those things are basically something that ChatGPT or any other model does not know anything about. What you are providing to the chatbot or the model by utilizing RAG is an additional data set that it can utilize as a reference point.
Okay.
Now, when Durga was talking about boundary conditions, those are system prompts that are an addition on top of a RAG model. A RAG is just addition of augmenting the data set that it can respond out of. But adding the boundary conditions as a system prompt allows us to set restrictions, say, don't answer anything about Amazon shopping. Focus on the data set that we have provided and don't answer anything outside of the topic or content that the user is asking about. Stick to the content that we have provided. That's a system prompt. So when you're utilizing ChatGPT or any other model with RAG, you also want to provide a limitation on what the user is interacting with. And that's what the boundary condition of the system prompt handles. So if we just think about only RAG is just adding one more data set. You can pick up your organization global hierarchy document or policy document and upload it to ChatGPT and you can create a RAG model. But that does not stop ChatGPT from responding to questions outside of the boundary of that particular custom content.
In and of itself, you need to add those boundaries.